Hey, Sassy Stuff. I'm Emma, and I'm here with Molly, and we're going to talk about the Texas-Arizona State game. So Texas did end up winning this game, 39-31 in double overtime. They didn't make it easy for themselves by any means necessary. I did think in the third quarter, I was like, well, this game's over. Even after the first two drives in the first quarter, I thought this game was over. But miraculously, ASU came back. They made a huge resurgence. They made this game probably one of the best games we've had so far in the playoffs in 2024. I guess it's now 2025. So they made it one of the best games in this new playoff circuit. And that was because of Cam Scatterbo. So how did you feel about this game?
I just want to shout out to Arizona State University because I think they held so much grit in this game. I think what a comeback, we're talking about just at the half, Texas had a 2 touchdown lead. So I think it's kind of crazy that they were even able to make it that close of a game. The entire game as a Texas fan, I've seen all the viral videos. We are all having the same reactions during that said comeback. And we all were having obviously the same reactions to missed field goals and bad calls and bad plays. All in all, my group chat with my Texas people, we all kind of agreed Texas did not necessarily deserve to win the game. I think, Arizona coming back the way they did, and I can say that humbly as a fan, like that this was Texas gets tired and frazzled when comebacks like this start to happen. Quinn Ewers doesn't do well under pressure like that. This has been the consistent problem that we've had. It's not even that they lack consistency. It's just they're a problem. They've been a problem since the start of the season. It's continuing to be a problem. And I think Texas just gets lucky at the end of the day. Every game that's been that close, I think it's been straight out of luck. This should not have been that close of a game. Clearly in the first two quarters, that was what we all thought was going to happen. We thought it was going to be at least a 2 touchdown lead. So it was very disappointing as a Texas fan. Happy they won, but also I'm a little sad for Arizona. I think they played a great game, and I think they have beyond talented players on their team.
So, looking at the Ohio State Oregon matchup and the Texas ASU matchup, I thought going into this, those games would have been flip flopped. I thought the Oregon Ohio State game would have been like how ASU Texas was and vice versa. So, it was very interesting to see Texas kind of dropped the ball in this way. They made so many mistakes. They played very, very messy, especially going into that second half. All the momentum was gone. And Cam Scatterbo with Arizona State, he was MVP of the day. He had 30 carries, 143 rushing yards, 88 receiving yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a passing touchdown. That passing touchdown really shifted the momentum in their favor, helps them get to that overtime. He accounted for 56% of ASU's total offense, which is absolutely insane to think about. He was the first player in CFP history with 100 plus rushing yards, 80 plus receiving yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a passing touchdown in one game. Really made history here. So he was the MVP of the night. He was sensational to watch. He really lifted this team up, carried them on his back all the way into double overtime. So I just think the heart with this guy and the talent with this guy was amazing to watch. We say it every week. Texas has the best players on paper. I have really yet to see them live up to their talent, like what they should do each and every week. And it's sad to think about because they have like the Matthew Golden, they have Quinn Ewers, they have Isaiah Bond, Weissner, the list goes on and on and on. And it never seems to fully work. So I don't know what they need to do going forward. Even Bert Auburn, who has been very consistent this year, has missed 2 game-winning field goal attempts in regulation, even after having that one-on-one talk with Steve Sarkisian. So it was just very inconsistent throughout in these higher pressure moments. And that's why I know what we've seen all year with Texas.
And I will say, even though Arizona State had such an MVP, I mean, like he's amazing. I think it would not shock me if he obviously has a long career. The only thing I want to say though about that is even with a player like him, Texas defense still won this game. I mean, through and through, they carried this game on their back. They always do. And honestly, they're proving to be, the number 2 best defense in the nation. And I think their defense needs a huge pat on the back for carrying each game this season, really, if we're being honest. I don't, like you said, I don't know what needs to change with the offense. I don't know if maybe it's just they don't mesh well. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it is a bonding situation. I'm not sure if it's just a logistical situation. I really don't know what this team needs and what they need to do to move forward. I'm no professional in that, so I can't be one to speak. But something has to change. This is what everybody's been saying, since Georgia. This is, or even as close of games as Vanderbilt. I mean, these were way too close of games for Texas, and even when they were winning, it wasn't with the level of talent that they have, it wasn't the blowouts that they should have had. So looking forward, I'm extremely nervous to play Ohio State. I don't see Texas advancing. We all have said it, in our private conversations, that this necessarily isn't necessarily a championship winning team. So I don't know. We'll just have to see looking forward for their future. I would love for them to win a championship as a fan, but I'm also humble enough to say I don't know.
They just need to live up to their all gas, no brakes motto. That's what they got to do. And they have to limit the mistakes. I just thought they were so messy. They had like 10 penalties in the second half. You can't do that. Um, I am with you. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat this Ohio State team. This Ohio State team is just they are all gas, no brakes
Yeah.
right now. So that is my worry for Texas moving forward. I also want to look at that targeting no call that happened. Twitter was not happy about that. It was crown to crown impact, but he didn't dip his head. So I think I would have been fine either way. Obviously, we want safety of players above all, but was it targeting? I don't know. It was so close and it was so hard to decide. I sympathize with the people on ASU, the fans and the players, because that really could have shifted the game in their favor. They could have then gone down, marched down the field, and won it in regulation if that had been a targeting call. It wasn't. They did get to go to overtime. They were not able to complete it at the end of the day, and Texas was. So I don't know. If I was a Texas fan, if I am the Texas players, I'd be a little scared right now because you have to go play Ohio State and they are not letting up right now. We saw what they did to Tennessee. We saw what they did to Oregon. Oregon, the number one team in the country. And I'm the person who have said all year, like Texas is the best team on paper, on paper, on paper. Paper doesn't win football games, and it's not been doing anything great for Texas lately, and they really need to regroup and figure out how they're going to move into this next game against Ohio State on the 10th in the Cotton Bowl, because they play like they did against ASU in the Peach Bowl. I just don't think they're going to get it done.
No, and it's weird. I watched a video this morning, and I actually sent it to all the Sassy Stuff girls, but all of the teams that are advancing to the quarterfinals so far, we don't know the Georgia Notre Dame yet, but so far, all of these teams were kind of, not. I mean, they didn't have the best, last few weeks of regular season. They lost their championship games, their conference championship games. They lost the last couple of games. So it's interesting to see. Maybe they are the underdogs. Maybe these people are coming out. That's intriguing to me when you're looking at the actual on paper what we're looking at with the quarterfinals. So far, it's a little crazy, and I think it's luck. I think these guys are hitting the jackpot.
Yeah.
Ohio State and Oregon. Ohio State caught Oregon on a bad day, that sucks. Texas and ASU, there were a few bad calls, really, really bad calls. If I'm being honest, if that contact would have been flipped and that would have been on my side, I would have been super upset. I would have wanted my 15-yard penalty.
Yeah.
It would have changed the game for me. So, well, once again, humble enough to say as a Texas fan, I don't think that game was necessarily fair. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to advancing to these quarterfinals with everybody and seeing what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing if possibly it's going to be Georgia. I don't know. I'm hoping it's Notre Dame. I'm favoring them, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think seeding is going to be something that needs to be addressed moving forward. And I think they've already been talking about switching it up, because the fact that Oregon, the number one seed, had to then take on either Ohio State or Tennessee was kind of crazy as their first game back. And I always say that like sometimes you want to play because Ohio State was coming off of that big loss to Michigan. So then going in there and having a dominating performance over Tennessee really gave them the momentum to move forward into that next game against Oregon. And so I think with Texas, this could actually be a really good thing for them playing this game against ASU because it shows them you're very, very vulnerable. If you can't get your stuff together, then bad things are going to happen. And you are just teetering on the edge right now. And Ohio State can absolutely expose that. So if you do not get it together, you will not advance. And so this could actually be a big wake up call for them because they didn't have as dominating of a win against Clemson as I thought they would have. They did not have as dominating of a win against ASU that I thought they would have. So maybe they're like, oh, well, we got to fix some things. We got to change some things around if we expect to beat Ohio State and continue on to the national championship. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here, if they're able to regroup, if they're able to re-strategize moving forward. But I'm a little worried for them right now.
Yeah. I mean, and Georgia has said it best. You know, Texas has a hard time playing all four quarters, so they get pretty tired at the half, especially if they're winning. If they're winning by 2 touchdowns like they were yesterday with ASU, I think they get tired and they not necessarily get lazy, but I don't think it's like they're just not as rushed.
Yeah.
They're just a little too chill, and so I think they just need to up their endurance and come back stronger than ever, and hopefully things change. But I think every Texas fan in the nation is a little nervous about this next game for sure.
Oh, they definitely are. I'm nervous for them. Ohio State is scary. And I think maybe one of the only teams that could beat them right now is Georgia because I trust Kirby Smart to get the job done. And he is a very physical team as well. And Ohio State is a very physical team. So I think he might be the only one who can get the job done. But let's see if Texas can do it. And we'll break down that game further for sure.
Thank you so much for reviewing the Texas ASU game with me and Emma today. If you're not already following us, go ahead and follow us on all social media platforms and come back for more this week.